The various sources of data. Yeah, good morning to everyone. My topic is understanding the various sources of data. Here I'm going to explain about what are the different sources of data used for data analysis. Means the main criteria is for data analysis means for this entire concept we will need the first thing is data, because we are using data and we are analyzing and making use of it by removing the unwanted data. Can you go for next slide, please? Yeah, my name is Uday. Contents, please. Here we are going to discuss about different sources of data, data types, and its classification, and other sources of data. Next slide. Yeah. What actually data collection means? Data collection is the process of acquiring, collecting, extracting, and storing the voluminous amount of data, which may be in the structured or unstructured form like text. It can be of various types. Means it can be existing like a text format or video format or audio format, records or other images, files used in for you we will use for data analysis. The data may be contained in structured format or unstructured format. It can be used for data analysis. Like the data forms will be XML or any kind of data. Next slide. In the process of big data analysis, data collection is the initial step for before starting to analyze the patterns of the information of the data. Yeah, I previously mentioned that data is the primary source for data analysis. Next slide, please. Yeah, the data which is collected at first is it is considered as raw data, means which is not useful at the initial state, but on cleaning the impure and utilizing that data for another further analysis forms information. The information that obtained is called as knowledge. Knowledge has many meanings like business knowledge or sales of enterprise products, disease treatment, etc. The main goal of data collection is to collect information rich data. Rich data means the data contains something data, so that we can remove the unwanted data and we can use the what we exactly need is. The main goal of the data collection is to collect in a yeah. The data which is to be analyzed must be collected from different valid sources. Means we cannot waste time by searching for unwanted information. The data what we exactly needs, we should go for it and we should convert it into useful and we should utilize it. Data collection starts with some questions like what kind of data to be collected and what source we should select. Most of the data collected are two types. They are qualitative data, which is a group of non-numerical data such as words, sententially most focus on the behavior and actions of the group. Another one is quantitative data, which is in numerical forms and can be calculated using different scientific tools. And sampling data means two kinds of data. Qualitative data, one mentions quality of the data, and quantitative data, how much quantity, means what content will be useful for us. Next slide, please. The actual data is primarily divided into two types. They are primary data and secondary data. Means it is categorized as primary data and secondary data. Primary data, the data which is raw, original, and extracted from original sources is known as primary data. Means at the initial stage, what data is collected as, it is called as primary data. It is raw data, means not useful at the beginning stage. At the earlier stages, which we go for filtering of the data, so that the data can be useful for different purposes. Next thing is secondary data. Secondary data is the data which is already being collected and reused for some valid purposes. In the definition itself, it comes like already collected data. It can be used for different purposes which previously not used. Next slide, please. Here we can go the architecture of the data. Here primary data and secondary data. Again, secondary data are furtherly categorized as internal data and external data. Primary data is of some types and secondary data is of some types. Next slide, please. Few methods of collecting primary data. They are interview method, survey method, observation method, experimental method. Here are the types of collecting ways for collecting data. Next slide. Like here are the brief about methods. First, we can go about interview method. The data collected by interviewing uh, the target audience means we have select some audience or people. We can gather data from them. Some basic business or product related questions are asked because primarily data useful for business purposes and some other purposes. These can be structured and unstructured. Both formats can be the raw data. Through phone, the collecting waste methods can be like contacting or like live approach. Next method is survey method. The questions are asked in the form of text or video or audio. Means conducting polls like asking some questions and knowing their like what they are feeling, what data they can give. It can be obtained both in online and offline mode. Answers are stored in for analyzing. Example, online service and through polls, conducting polls. Next slide, please. Here are the other two methods. It can be observation method. It is a method the researcher observes the behavior and practices of the target audience. Means it means observing for example, consider a business. While observing the business, what actually it is, the performance of the business, what kind of business it will be. Observation of the customers and their behaving toward the products. If a product is released and how the public are using, like we are getting data from that. The data obtained will be sent for processing. The data at first is collected and sent for processing. And the final method is experimental method. Data collected through performing experiment research and investigation. Here are some of the classifications like some of the sub methods are CRD, termed as completely randomized design, is a simple experimental design used in data analytics, which is based on randomization and replication. It is mostly used for comparing the experiments. Means first we have to done one experiment and we go for the second one and comparing the first and second one for the exact data. And other method is RBD, randomized block design, is an experimental design in which the experiment is divided into small units called blocks. Random experiments are performed on each on the blocks and results are drawn using a technique known as analysis of variance. RBD means this method was originated from the agricultural sector. And the next one is LSD, Latin square design, is an experimental design that is similar to CRD and RBD blocks but contains rows and columns. It is an arrangement of squares. Means it is another kind of method. The final one is factorial design, FD, is an experimental design where each experiment has two factors, each with possible values. On performing trial, other combination factors are derived. Means performing trials on the methods. Next slide. Like previous. Okay. Yeah, another category is secondary data. Means secondary data is differ from primary data. Secondary data is already the data which has been collected and reused for some valid purpose. Here subcategories are internal source and external source. Coming to the internal source, these types of data can be easily found within the organization, such as we can consider market record, sales record, transactions, customer data, accounting resources. We can extract the data from the already existing data and use it for different purposes. Coming to this kind of category, the cost and time consumption is less because already you collected data, so cost will be obviously less and time consumption is also less because depending upon internal resources. Coming to the external source, the data which cannot be found at internal organizations and can be gained through external third party resources. Because we are aware of third party resources, they will give the data for if other persons are needed. The cost and time consumption is more because this contains a huge amount of data. The data will be in large amount. Examples of external resources are like it can be government publications, news publications, Register General of India and Planning Commission. Means it can be related to government sectors, and it can be also non-governmental publications also. We can extract the data from. These are all kind of sources which are come under primary data and secondary data. Coming to different other sources we can have, it is next slide. These are three kinds of data. First one is sensor data. Means we are using sensors in a vast kind of for data collection. With the advancement of IoT devices, the sensors of these devices collect data which can be used for sensor data analytics to track the performance of usage of products. So here it is the one of the kind of method to extract the data by using sensors. We are having the most upgraded technology like IoT. We can implement the sensors with the IoT technology, and we can grab the data and use it for analyzing purposes. And one of the another method is satellites data. Satellites collect a lot of images and data in terabytes on the daily basis through surveillance cameras, which can be used to collect useful information. Means it is a one kind of method. We can collect the data and use it for analyzing purpose. One other method is web traffic. Due to fast and cheap internet facilities, many formats of data which is uploaded by users on different platforms can be predicted and collected with their permission for data analysis. Because nowadays many are uploading their information in different media because of some purposes, and it will be useful for data collection. Means no need to ask the direct person. By taking their permission, we can directly access the data and use it for some other purposes. The search engines also provide the data through keywords and queries searched mostly. Means like one of the concept is AI. What previously searched data, it is showing like in suggestion box, because the data what firstly searched is stored and it is giving suggestions to us. It making work easier. So these are the concepts of various kinds of data which we are using for data analysis. Okay, this is the my topic and my presentation. Thank you.